Welcome to this in-depth survival guide for navigating a severe personal financial crisis. Today, we'll walk through immediate actions to take when debt feels catastrophic, cash flow is deeply negative, and you're facing mounting pressure from creditors and potential lawsuits. We'll prioritize survival over compliance, focus on protecting housing, food, and work transportation, and explain when and how legal tools like bankruptcy can stop creditor actions. We'll also cover student loan relief through income-driven repayment, radical cost-cutting tactics, and cash flow strategies. Let's begin, and then transition to the agenda to see what we'll cover. Here's the roadmap for today's video. We'll begin with why traditional budgeting breaks down in extreme insolvency, then move into the survival hierarchy: housing, food, and transportation. After that, we'll cover immediate 72-hour steps, discuss bankruptcy as a legal reset, tackle federal student loans via income-driven repayment, and work through housing and car strategies to shrink major liabilities. We'll layer on income boosts, present a practical timeline for stabilization, and bust common myths. With that overview in mind, let's transition into the crisis framing and why normal budgets stop working in this scenario. In severe financial crisis, you may be juggling more than $75,000 in debt, collection threats, possible lawsuits, and a monthly cash flow deficit that makes basic living costs unaffordable. In this environment, traditional budgeting frameworks that assume you can meet all minimums are unworkable. The objective shifts from compliance with unsecured creditors to survival and stabilization. Your priorities must become housing, food, and essential transportation for work. With that frame set, let's transition to a brief but important disclaimer before we get tactical. Before proceeding, please note this is educational content and not financial, legal, or tax advice. Your situation is unique, and laws and programs can change. Always consult a qualified bankruptcy or consumer law attorney in your jurisdiction to evaluate your options. Use this framework as a starting point for informed conversations with professionals. With the disclaimers in place, let's transition to the survival hierarchy that guides every decision in an acute crisis. Here is the survival hierarchy that should govern decisions in a crisis. First, prioritize housing, rent or mortgage, and essential utilities. Second, ensure food. If money is short, use food banks and community resources immediately. Third, maintain work transportation. Losing the ability to commute risks losing income. Fourth, stop paying unsecured debt like credit cards and collections when you are insolvent and cannot cover necessities. Fifth, engage social services by calling 211 for emergency support. Sixth, leverage legal tools by consulting a bankruptcy attorney as soon as possible to understand options and to stop creditor actions through the automatic stay if you proceed. Finally, adopt the mindset of survival over compliance. Pride can prevent you from using life-saving resources, so accept help. To anchor this, we've added a short markdown checklist to track critical steps. Next, let's visualize how these decisions flow with a triage diagram. This flowchart starts by asking whether you are insolvent, meaning you cannot cover essentials. If yes, you follow the survival path. Prioritize housing, food, and transportation. Cease payments on unsecured debts. Contact 211. Schedule a bankruptcy consultation. Apply for an income-driven plan on federal student loans. Aggressively reduce housing and car costs, and then work towards stabilizing cash flow. If the answer is no, you may continue with a traditional budgeting approach and negotiate rates. The diagram also highlights options to negotiate a lease, find a roommate, and sell or trade down a vehicle. All roads aim toward beginning a rebuild plan once stabilization is achieved. Now let's convert triage into concrete 72-hour actions. In the first 72 hours, take decisive steps. Make a list of essential bills due in the next 1 to 2 weeks, and fund only housing, food, and transportation. Stop autopay on unsecured debts immediately. Call 211 to access food, utility assistance, rental aid, and other local programs. Visit a food bank and organize a low-cost meal plan. Contact your landlord in writing to negotiate extensions, partial payments, or permission to add a roommate. Book a free consultation with a bankruptcy attorney to evaluate options. Begin gathering documentation such as recent pay stubs, bank statements, bills, creditor letters, and any court notices. Apply for an income-driven repayment plan such as SAVE for federal student loans to potentially reduce your payment to zero. Evaluate transportation costs by obtaining new insurance quotes, considering a vehicle sale or trade down, and checking transit or carpool alternatives. Cancel non-essential subscriptions and pause any services that do not support survival. Next, we will discuss bankruptcy as a legal reset and how it can halt creditor actions. Bankruptcy is a legal tool designed to give honest but overwhelmed debtors a fresh start. Filing triggers the automatic stay, which generally stops collections, garnishments, and lawsuits immediately. There are different chapters, most commonly Chapter 7, which is a liquidation process for eligible debtors, and Chapter 13, which establishes a structured repayment plan. A qualified attorney will help determine which chapter fits your situation. Prepare by assembling documentation covering your income, expenses, debts, assets, and recent financial transactions. The objective is to stabilize quickly, protect essential living, and create the foundation for a deliberate rebuild. Now, to clarify how creditor actions are paused, let's look at a sequence diagram of the automatic stay. This sequence diagram illustrates the flow of events. Creditors initiate collection calls and may file a lawsuit. You consult an attorney, who files a bankruptcy petition with the court. Upon filing, the automatic stay is triggered. The court notifies all creditors, and collection efforts, including wage garnishment, are generally halted. This visual shows the protective barrier created by the filing and why timing and documentation matter. Next, let's visualize where money is actually going each month to identify the biggest cash flow leaks. This pie chart breaks down typical cash flow drains: rent and utilities, car payments, insurance and fuel, food, and minimum payments on unsecured debt. In an acute crisis, you must shrink the largest slices first, usually housing and transportation. This is why negotiating a lease, or adding a roommate, and trading down from an expensive car can have the most immediate impact. With that context, let's move to practical tactics for housing and transportation. Address housing and transportation immediately. Negotiate your lease for extensions, payment plans, or written permission to add a roommate. If rent remains unaffordable, downsize quickly to a smaller unit or shared housing, and liquidate excess belongings. For an upside-down car loan, determine the current market value, explore trading down, or discuss a voluntary surrender strategy with counsel if needed. Reshop insurance to lower premiums, consider higher deductibles, and remove coverage you do not need. Use public transit or carpool where possible, and if you must keep a car, target a reliable, low-cost vehicle. Avoid committing scarce cash to an expensive, depreciating car. Instead, allocate funds to housing, food, and work transportation at the lowest feasible cost. Now, let's establish a realistic timeline for stabilization. This timeline lays out milestones across 3 phases. In days 0 through 7, you stop unsecured autopays, contact 211, visit a food bank, email your landlord to negotiate, schedule a bankruptcy consultation, apply for income-driven repayment on federal loans, and obtain new insurance quotes. In days 8 through 30, you search for a roommate, trade down your car if appropriate, finalize your legal path, draft a bare-bones budget, and secure extra shifts or temporary work. In days 31 through 90, you execute the legal resolution, stabilize housing, maintain your low or zero payment under IDR, build a small emergency buffer, and track spending weekly. Next, let's drill into student loans, which have distinct options separate from other debts. Federal student loans have unique relief options. Apply for an income-driven repayment plan, such as SAVE, where payments are calculated based on income and family size and may be reduced to 0 for low incomes. Keep track of your recertification schedule and maintain documentation. Private student loans do not generally offer income-driven plans. Consult your attorney about options. Treatment of student loans in bankruptcy is specialized and evolving, so seek legal counsel to evaluate your situation. Next, let's strengthen the cash flow side by both increasing income and slashing non-essential expenses. To maximize cash flow, consider temporary overtime or a second job to rapidly close the deficit. Use gig work strategically, focusing on opportunities where the net income after expenses remains positive. Sell items you no longer need to generate quick cash. Review eligibility for public benefits and potential tax credits, and consult a tax professional if needed. Cut subscriptions, dining out, and other discretionary spending to the bone. Implement a zero-based survival budget that covers only essentials. To make this concrete, here is a sample survival budget structure. This table outlines a survival budget skeleton using percentage ranges. Housing and utilities should target approximately 35 to 45%, with negotiation, roommates, or downsizing to hit the target. Food should fall around 10 to 15% when leveraging aid and bulk cooking. Transportation should land within 15 to 20%, by trading down vehicles and shopping insurance. Phone and internet should be reduced to the cheapest reliable options at roughly 5 to 8%. Healthcare and medications can often be optimized through clinics and discount programs at 5 to 8%. Finally, reserve 5 to 10% as a minimal buffer for inevitable small surprises. These are guidelines, not rigid rules. Apply them to your situation. Next, we'll challenge some common myths that can derail survival decisions. Let's confront myths that sabotage recovery. Myth 1. You must pay every creditor something. Reality. In crisis, you prioritize shelter, food, and transportation. Unsecured debts can wait. Myth 2. Stopping credit card payments will ruin you permanently. Reality. Credit can be rebuilt, while survival comes first. Myth 3. Asking for help is shameful. Reality. Pride is costly. Use community resources such as 211 and food banks. Myth 4. Pursuing advanced education now will solve your income. Reality. Stabilize first. Then evaluate education strategically within a durable financial plan. Now, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Quiz time. The question is, when you are insolvent and cannot cover essentials, which payments get priority? Option A. Credit cards and collections. Option B. Split everything equally across all bills. Option C. Housing, food, and work transportation. Option D. Ignore all bills, including rent and utilities. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is C. Housing, food, and work transportation. In an insolvency crisis, you fund essentials first and suspend unsecured debts. This approach preserves your ability to maintain shelter and income. Next, let's add another quick question about student loans. Here is the next question. What is the fastest way to reduce federal student loan payments during a crisis? Option A. Stop paying and ignore notices. Option B. Apply for an income-driven repayment plan, such as SAVE. Option C. Refinance privately to a lower rate immediately. Option D. Bankruptcy automatically erases federal student loans. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. Applying for an income-driven repayment plan, such as SAVE. These plans tie payments to your income and family size, which can reduce your monthly payment to a very low amount, sometimes even zero, during hardship. Bankruptcy treatment for student loans is specialized and not automatic, and ignoring notices typically makes the situation worse. Now let's cement the main ideas with key takeaways before we summarize your next steps. This pie diagram emphasizes the survival budget focus areas. The largest allocation goes to housing and utilities, followed by transportation and food. Smaller shares are reserved for healthcare and phone, a minimal buffer, and a very small portion for everything else. This visualization reinforces that in crisis, essentials dominate the spending plan. Now, let's present concise key points. These are the key takeaways. First, survival outweighs compliance. Fund housing, food, and transportation first. Second, when insolvent, stop paying unsecured debts and consult a bankruptcy attorney to understand legal options. Third, use income-driven repayment to reduce federal student loan payments. Fourth, target the largest expenses by negotiating housing, trading down your car, and shopping insurance. Fifth, use community support services immediately. Finally, build a bare-bones survival budget and track your progress weekly. Before we wrap, let's provide a brief summary and your immediate next actions. In summary, within the first 72 hours, stop unsecured autopays, contact 211, visit a food bank, negotiate with your landlord, schedule a bankruptcy consultation, and apply for income-driven repayment. In the next 8 to 30 days, secure a roommate, trade down your car if needed, finalize your legal strategy, and implement a zero-based survival budget. By 90 days, aim to stabilize housing, maintain your low or zero IDR payment, establish a small buffer, and continue weekly tracking and adjustments. One last visual will show how actions and protections connect, and then we'll close with a call to action. This sequence diagram depicts your path from chaos to control. You request aid through 211, and negotiate with your landlord. Creditors may pursue collections, but after consultation, your attorney may file a case that triggers the automatic stay, which notifies creditors and pauses actions. In parallel, you trade down your vehicle and apply for income-driven repayment with your student loan servicer. Each week, you review and adjust your survival budget. This integrated view reinforces how actions and legal protections work together. Now, let's close out the video. Thank you for watching. If this guide helped you, please like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more practical breakdowns. Share your crisis survival tips and questions in the comments so we can learn from each other. Stay focused, execute the plan, and keep moving forward.